It is truly my pleasure to be here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I have been a magistrate judge here in the Superior Court of the District of Columbia for just a little over 12 years now, and over the last 5 years I've been assigned to the family court branch of our court. Over the last 3 years I've had the honor of presiding over our Fathering Court initiative, and it started out as a pilot program. I want to say to you that it's been one of the most rewarding things that I have done in the time that I've been with the court. I'm joined today by our presiding judge in the family court, William Jackson, who's seated immediately behind me.
I understand he ceded to you the right to sit at the table and testify. Thank you, Judge.
I'm sure you wish you hadn't said that. Our program was...
I know seniority.
Our program was developed based on a model that we went out and observed in Kansas City. And the program there was designed to focus on men who were returning from a period of incarceration. And we recognized that the men in that program were not financially supportive of their children. They were not emotionally engaged with the children. They were not fathers in the sense that we all would like to think of fathers. We designed a program that really is not, it's not rocket science. It's not complicated at all. There's no magic to it. I have a 19-year-old son who is in college right now, presents a great many challenges. He's a fine young man, he is. But I understand firsthand how difficult it can be to raise children. And so when I think about the program that we put together, I think about some of the challenges that I've had in raising my family. Our program really gives men an opportunity to be good dads. And I have to say to you that my experience tells me that most men do want to be connected to their children. They want to be supportive to their families. But in the vast majority of cases, they simply do not have the tools to accomplish that very noble goal. And so our program focuses on trying to accomplish really 4 things. First of all, we make sure that all the dads in our program, they work. Second, they pay child support. Third, they attend Quenching the Father Thirst class that teaches them to be good dads. And they connect with their children. And then last but not least, they cannot reoffend when they are in our program. Those are really the 4 tenets of what we want to do. So how do we get to where we accomplish all of this? We get referrals from probation and parole authorities, from other judges in our courthouse. We take referrals from the Office of the Attorney General Child Support Services Division because our program is very much connected to the issue of child support. And once we get the referrals, we endeavor to make sure that we get these gentlemen employed. And in about 30 to 60 days, we get our participants employed. And people look at me and they always say, how in the world can you do that in today's climate? And the answer is not particularly complicated. Our program is a partnership. It's not that the court does it by itself. We use existing programs, government and private sector, to make sure that we can deliver services to the family, whatever they may be. And so on the employment side, we use the Department of Employment Services, a subsidized employment program. They will get employment for a good number of our participants. But we also have a private sector job placement group called Educational Data Systems, Inc. And they have developed relationships with employers in the District of Columbia. We are right up front about who we are trying to employ. Everyone's coming home from a period of incarceration. They are under some level of supervision. And so we are honest and direct about who they are and what we want to accomplish. But because of these partnerships, we're able to get employment, and they work. I concede they are not the most high-paying jobs. I concede they are not glamorous jobs. But it is a start for these gentlemen. It gives them a foothold in doing something that they have not been able to accomplish in the past. And once we get the employment in place, we get wage withholding, so the child support is taken care of. The child support comes out right out front. And let me say to you this, I cannot underscore that enough, because once we can address the issue of child support, we are in a position where we can focus on what I would humbly suggest to you is really the more difficult and perhaps more important issue. How do we get the men to reconnect to their children, to their families, so they're not just a financial piece of support, but their dads in every sense of the word? So our efforts to do that are based in large part on getting buy-in from all the moms. Our program is entirely voluntary, so everyone has to want to be in the program. And I recognize right up front that sometimes we're asking moms to really work with us in a situation where dads disappointed them, probably on many occasions. And what we can say to them is, while dad might be a disappointment now, perhaps even a greater disappointment in the past, our hope and expectation is that we're creating an opportunity where he will not be a disappointment in the future. And so we get that buy-in from mothers. And because we have a partnership, we are in a position where we can reach out and provide services for just about any need that may be out there. For example, if there is a need for additional education or vocational training, we are connected with programs like the University of the District of Columbia. All of our participants go through financial counseling. For some people, it's the first time they've ever had a paycheck and a checking account in their lives. And so we help to teach those types of skills. The Quenching the Fathering Thirst curriculum is done by the Healthy Families and Thriving Communities Collaborative. It exists in every section of the city. It is a long-term course that covers many weeks where our fathers go in weekly for educational sessions so they understand the significance of being a father, the commitment that has to be made, and then the responsibility that comes with being there for their children. And so we are in a position where we can try to put all of those things together for our families. Right now we have 37 men in the program. My expectation is at the end of the year, 10 will graduate. That does not mean that the other 27 won't graduate. But it's a year-long program. Not everyone comes in at the same time. And so those 10 that are at about the 1-year mark, perhaps a little more in some instances, will all graduate, I think, at the end of the year. To be candid with you, some people don't make it through the program. It's just too rigorous for them. We ask a lot from them, and because it's a court-based program, there is a level of responsibility they must have. I see men in the program about once every 30 days. In most child support cases, I see folks about once every 90 days. So we are very intense, very driven in what we do. We provide case managers for every family so that we are able to monitor their success and any potential failure that may come and try to meet it with the appropriate need. I say to you that the program works because we've watched a good number of people work through it and become connected with their families. We are in a position where I can say to you one of the things that is most encouraging about the program is that if we get buy-in from families, it's successful. Out of the people who have been through the program thus far, we have had one individual recidivate, just one. And so I think that that is a significant accomplishment in trying to connect people with their families. If you give us just the core of what we can do, job placement, intensive case management services, education for how to be a father, and if you can extend what I think is a very caring approach to folks who have not always had that response from courts and other government agencies, then we're in a position where we can create men who take advantage of opportunities, get invested in their families, and as men say to me all the time, I can't afford to lose what I have right now. It's just too important to me. That is the story of our court.